I'll call the Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. We're meeting by Zoom only. Um, the I'll take roll call attendance since we're all remote. Justin Yanosik,
Here.
Justin Casanova Davis,
Here.
Chris Baker,
Here.
Todd Lindmark,
Here.
Eve Kinney,
Here.
Kevin Champagne here. First agenda item is public comment. See Donna unmuting herself, so I'll assume there's no public comment. Um, so just a couple items tonight. Steve will go through his OPM report, and then as a follow-up to our last meeting, we've expended all of our OPM service fees. So we just wanted to review as a committee what we wanted them to do moving forward, how often we want to have them on site, and so on. So I think Steve will run through that after the OPM report, and we can vote on how we want to move forward. So I think that's generally what we're trying to accomplish tonight. Hopefully, should be relatively straightforward. So with that, Steve, I'll turn it over to you for the OPM report.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. OPM report for the fire station project for March 19th. Progress since our last meeting, which was on the 12th of February. The punch list work has continued by the contractors. The flagpole was installed this week. The post-occupancy monitoring by the HVAC commissioning agent has been completed. There has been some warranty work on the HVAC. There is a replacement electric radiant panel that is due to be delivered and installed this week. AHU1 has an issue with the energy recovery wheel. It's on order, but the unit is working. But the contractor and the manufacturer wants to replace the actual wheel. And there's been some communication issues with the building management system that the controls contractor was on site today with Matt, going over some of those items. Nothing that necessarily affected the function of the system, but there was some alerts that Matt wasn't getting on his end. So they were walking through that. Also warranty issues with the overhead doors. At this point right now, all of the sensors on all 8 doors have been replaced. They still got a couple of items left to do, but knock on wood that we're not going to have any issues with the closing of the doors like we've had. Also, the Mass Save verification period has started. I've hooked up the Mass Save representatives with Matt Malnerich and got them some information they needed, such as the final commissioning report, and they're looking for some trending. And part of what the visit today with the controls subcontractor was access to some of the trending information. So again, that Mass Save will monitor the system operation for a year to make sure that what's been installed is operating to the EUI that was calculated, and if it's meeting or under, then they get another incentive rebate at the end of 1 year, which would be January of next year. Schedule look ahead. Right now, we've been having bi-weekly OAC calls with the contractor. Last week, asked him specifically what their plan was for the spring work. They want to start in April and basically have it done by the end of April. They'll probably be coming in based on the calendar, probably the 31st of March, and working through the first couple days of May to get essentially the lawn seeding and maintenance. They do have some areas where they had some erosion that they're going to have to um, repair within the loam areas. Get the seating established, do the top coat paving, which they're planning for the third week of April, followed by the line striping and doing the sidewalk sealants. We did have a couple issues with some of the sidewalk panels. Looked like they had some frost heave. We got some cracks and some chips, so there may be a couple panels that have to be cut out also and re-poured concrete. So, and then once that work is done, that'll be the bulk of the work that needs to be finished, and then it'll be a matter of establishing the seeding. There's a couple different seeds. There's the rain garden seed and the basin seed, and then the regular seed on the east end of the building. Getting that established and having the landscape architect come out and give it the final okay once it's fully established. Again, the 1 year verification period with Mass Save and Eversource is going to continue. Also continue with reducing the punch list or finishing the punch list. And then any of the added work list items that we've gone over, those will not be done within the April 30th period because we're still getting pricing on some of those new items. So those will probably be after the base contract work is completed. And once we get a schedule on that, we can address that with the committee. So the any questions on progress and upcoming schedule?
So the heave sidewalks, I mean, roughly how much are we talking about that has to be replaced?
Well, before today, there was one panel that had a good crack in it, but today Doug sent a photo. It looked like the stretch of sidewalk that is at the EV charger, that sidewalk that goes from the building to the front had probably 4 panels that appears it lifted up, and then when it came back down, and it's right up against precast concrete curbing, that
Yeah.
whole edge chipped. I don't know, and I just saw it as a photograph just today. I don't know if it's repairable or whether they're going to have to cut those panels out. But it's that, when you border a panel with your edging tool,
Yeah.
that 3-inch sort of chipped along a line.
So this is probably getting too down in the weeds, but obviously when they if they do remove the panels, I mean, hopefully someone's gonna, I don't know if there's a subgrade issue or something, but that seems like a lot of
Well,
heave.
it's interesting because that sort of that deep freeze we had for a couple weeks, I
Yeah.
had 2 other projects, same issue happened, and those sidewalks went down with no damage.
Okay.
This one chipped, and I think it basically chipped because it was tight to the precast curb.
Got it.
But I haven't besides a picture, I haven't physically looked at it yet because Doug just sent those photos today.
Okay.
So the the added work list, just updating the status. A number of proposal requests were issued by Dawn Whittier to the general contractor for pricing. Actually, is Dawn Whittier on?
No, I didn't see them.
Okay. So they issued a number of PRs. There was POs were issued for a printer in the Sharps disposal cabinet. Actually, the printer for the admin area has already been delivered. We're also confirming some quotes that had aged a little bit to make sure they're accurate to current market. And then we did have a couple of items that we had to add. The chief needed actual AEDs to put in the AED boxes in the building. And then I omitted, my mistake, I omitted a small ledge unit price change order that had been had been completed as part of phase two. My intention, if I can, is to absorb that in the approved amount, which was a little over $145,000. And as we had spoken before, because some of the items on the list were estimates because we didn't have prices for. There may be a few items that we can't do in order to stay under that approved amount. And just maybe a little tough to see, but this is sort of my running list, which is the same list that I went over at the last meeting, but the blackout line items are just items that we decided not to do. So that's how I'm tracking. Right now I'm tracking, if I go to the second page, here's the amount that that had been okayed at the last committee meeting based on items that are either part of the change order 7 that was issued to Castagna, which picked up quite a few of these, or items that we have a purchase order on or confirmed quote, we're at about 106, almost $107,000 of that. So I'm and I'm including the AEDs and the ledge that I'm hoping to absorb. So that we're working diligently on that. As far as the budget goes, I've updated the budget to include that approved amount from the added work list and also the
I think
change order that was issued to Castagna. Oh,
I think you got to zoom out, Steve.
oh,
We
sorry.
can't see the whole slide.
How's that? Is
Good.
that all right? Is that because I'm seeing it full, but do I need to zoom back
Yeah,
more?
we couldn't see the number in yellow previous, or at least
Oh,
I couldn't.
that's the number you want to see too.
Right.
So I updated this from last month. I've got the change order number 7 in. The potential added work. Now it's a low number because I've distributed some of that 145 into Castagna's contract. And then again, less the appropriation and the mass save incentive. So we we actually went up last time. We were at 1.2 something. We're at 1.336, barring any other issues that come up. So I think that's a pretty good number.
Yep. Anybody have any questions on the added work list or this slide?
Just really quick, this is Chief Kenny. We may not be there yet, so just tell me to stop if we aren't, but are we gonna leave like a little bit of contingency for us, so as we live in it and see and experience stuff, we can either, make adjustments or, things like that. I just
I
know with the way the town budget and everything is, I don't want to come back and ask for anything, to do with the building, whether it be a training prop or whatever, if it's at all possible. But I mean, that's going to be based on what the committee says.
Yeah, I can give you my opinion, Chief, and then we can kind of open it up to see if I mean, we might as well talk about it. I mean, my thought is once we get, so you said Castagna is estimating they're done on with contract work on May 2nd,
Yeah,
right?
roughly end of April, first week of May. Yeah.
And then the only remaining work would be anything that's in that work list, essentially.
Right.
I mean, at that point, I think we can maybe decide. We have a committee meeting in May and we decide, are we returning the entire amount to the town or do we want to return a large chunk and then hold on to a piece that, for the next year, if we want to dip into, we meet as a committee and appropriate it. I think maybe we can make that decision once we know what the final number is. I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody else has any thoughts.
No, I agree with that, Kevin. That's kind of what I've had in mind. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to look at it. keep a small reserve.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying we definitely do that. I think we discuss it as a committee, but my thought is maybe we return as much as we can, and if we do have a small amount, any amount that gets spent, we meet as a committee and determine
Yeah.
if it's going to be spent or not, you
Yeah.
know. So that's my thought, and I'm open to other opinions.
Actually, I like that. I think, the work you all have done, or we all have done, to be able to, give back over $1 million, hopefully is I think a great accomplishment, and also, you know, lets the taxpayers know in town that we really went about this the right way, and, you know, kept it kept it fiscally responsible, So I'm proud of that. I think we did a good job.
So unless anybody else has any input on that, I think we table that to May or whenever the project's complete. So.
Okay. So my last item is the proposed OPM amendment number 5, which would be for additional construction administration. At the last meeting, we had a discussion on this, and essentially, the agreement was, and part of that was Castagna's sort of credit on some additional OPM work, which was issued as an amendment. In that having that amendment, which was $17,060, that freed up the hold on Vertex's January invoice, but it was not enough to cover the February invoice. So just going through this is sort of a summary. I got more of a detail after. The balance of our February invoice is $11,515, which is inclusive of some of the commissioning work. Then there's a balance for the HVAC commissioning, which will be coming in on the March invoice. And then we're sort of halfway through March, so I pretty much estimated where we might be at the end of March at 8627. And then the bulk of what we've been talking about is when Castagna's subs, their landscaper, their site guy, their paver, come back in April for approximately 5 weeks. And I sort of threw it up as a couple of options. And this is mainly, I mean, there's some PM and senior PM time, but it's mainly the construction site manager, Doug, being on site, whether he's on site 3 days a week, whether he's on site 5 days a week. I'm sort of given some numbers, and let me just scroll down here to the next one. Sort of gives a more of a breakdown. Option 1 all told is a little over 66,000. Option 2, with dropping from 5 days a week to 3 days a week, is 54,000. And you could go 2 days a week. Well, I just wanted to give a couple of options on how we could set this up. And
So
what I'm including again is, I've got senior PM week time. That's me. That's PM time is Carly doing. Sort of a lot of what we're going to be doing is sort of chasing these added list items. CSM, which is Doug Barletta, that's his time on the site. Then there's some accounting time, and we're going to bring Yankee Testing in to do, when they do the top coat, we want them to be there to test the temperature and write up a final report on materials testing. That's the 700. I don't know if anybody has any questions, opinions, comments.
well, so before we get into that, because I think this is the action item, essentially the OPM fee review. So are we done with the rest of the OPM report besides this?
Yeah, this is my last thing. Yes.
Okay. So does anyone have any other questions on the OPM report before we kind of move into the action item discussion part? Not seeing anybody, any hands or anything, so I'll assume no. Um, okay, I guess I'll open up the discussion on the slide just generally, and then can see if anybody has any insight or comments. But so just so I understand, Steve, so basically the first three lines is committed money, right? It's money that was already spent in February. It's money that we already have allocated to HVAC commissioning, and it's money that was already spent or will be spent in March.
Yeah, the March is
Is
half
a guess.
half
Okay.
you know spent, and then the other half is sort of forecasting to the end of March, a couple of weeks.
Okay. And the list below again is just two options. I mean, we could go down to 1 day a week if we wanted to,
You
right?
could,
And that
yeah,
would
we
lower the
could
number like
calculate
a
it
five.
however, right?
Okay. So um I don't know if anybody has any opinion on this. I think what we're trying to do is collectively as a committee come to an agreement on how often we want um I think primarily how often we want Doug on site. I mean, that's the biggest part of the number.
That is the crux of
Um
it, right?
the the rest of the stuff is all kind of Steve and Carly chasing down the added work items. Um so my thought is let's agree as a committee on a number, a not to exceed number, and then Vertex bills against it hourly like they have to date, um, to extend their services through the end of construction here, and try and come up with some number that'll get us there. I guess with that, I'll open it up to anybody that has any questions or comments on this.
Yeah, these costs here, these estimated costs, they were not included in the budget slide that we looked at before, correct?
No,
Okay.
they were not.
So yeah, so anything that we approve here will come off the 1.33 million,
Okay.
essentially. Um, anything else? I I can maybe I can get the conversation started. I don't see anybody else
Yeah.
jumping in, but um, I mean, my thought is uh, the work is primarily planting and paving and striping, things that
Correct.
really are
Surface work.
surface work exposed to view that you don't necessarily need to be out there all the time to see going in. You could go out maybe once a week and see that it's in. Maybe the paving work we want to have dug out there. How long do you think the paving work would be, Steve?
I think they would want to do it in 1 day. I don't know if that's logistically able, because the station has to remain open. So 2 days,
Yeah.
you know,
So, for the paving, maybe it's anticipated 2 days, but beyond that, he's going out once a week or twice a week. Um,
I mean, the contractors should, I mean, they sh they should be able to do these things without, a lot of scrutiny.
well, and I mean, the engineers are going to go and look at it as well, right before they sign off on affidavits.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're going to
The
get a couple
civil and the
sets of eyes
landscape
on it.
engineer, you have to do their final review. Correct.
Do we,
And when you say
Do we
3 days a week, is that like 3 days a week on average, or is that like a set schedule? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he's there. Tuesday, Thursday, he's somewhere else. Or does it just coordinate with the contractor and then be there as needed, and that's an average?
Yeah, yeah, it's not necessarily a set schedule, because
Okay.
here's the thing, if no one's gonna show up on a day, I don't want to put Doug out there
Right.
if no one's gonna be there, and just, I mean, he'd do something, but he wouldn't be doing, you don't want to spend money for no reason.
Okay.
So
I'm wondering if we
it's
say
an
like,
average.
sorry, I'm wondering if we say like not to exceed 10 days over the 5 weeks or 12 days over the 5 weeks, rather than saying this many days per week.
Sure. Well, what I would say, Justin, is I think the way I read this is being laid out basically to give us a bottom line number that says, all right, let's approve Vertex not to exceed $50,000 or not to exceed $60,000 without our approval. And that number will get us roughly 3 days a week of Doug's time or 2 days a week of Doug's time, you know?
Yeah.
So like
That way
if,
I can track it.
right. So if we said, on average 2 days a week, right? That takes that 1788, 880 times 2/3. I'm just kind of trying to do some, unless you have this in Excel and can change it. That
48,
changes.
345.
There we go. I should have asked the finance guy. What's that? What was the number, Todd?
48, 303, 45.
Yeah. So I mean, if we want to say 50 or 55,000 would be my suggestion. I don't think we need Doug out there all that much, to be perfectly honest.
And
I mean,
just
he's
so you
done a
know,
great
one
job. So
day would
what's
be
that?
42, 343, 45.
If it's just one day, yeah. So, I mean, my sense, uh, um, is closer to one day a week, and then when they're doing the paving, maybe he's out there 2 days that week, and so it's closer to the 42. And so maybe we say 50,000. I guess I'm just trying to get this so that we do this once and we don't have to do this again sometime in June, if the project goes a little past May 2nd. So I personally would be comfortable anywhere between 50,000 and 60,000, and then just it's T and M. We say, Steve, have Doug go out there once a week, and that's what we bill against.
Yeah, I can do
Keith?
that. And then,
Yeah,
obviously we don't come up to the not to exceed amount, we don't bill it.
right. Chief or Justin Casanova Davis, or Todd, any thoughts on it?
I like
No,
doing the I do like doing the not to exceed. I think that works. Um, and then that way, if it's not used or needed, it goes back into what you know, the give back coffer is.
Justin or Todd, any opinion or no real opinion?
you know my opinion.
All right. Well, we can't approve zero. So
There we go.
we have to find some other number. Or we could, but this call is going to end pretty fast, I think.
Kevin,
So
I apologize. Just so I chime in real quick, what was the figure that was last thrown out?
at the last meeting, I think Steve had 68,000.
No,
Right.
no. What has our committee said so far? Sorry.
Oh, so I said I would be comfortable between 50 and 60, based on these numbers. I mean, if we're one day a week, if Todd's math is correct, which I have no reason to believe is not, it's like 43,000. If it's 2 days a week, it's like 48. So
Let's do
my
50.
thought,
My chiming in, I have some in my office, sorry, so I'm trying to double duty. My inside would be 55, I feel comfortable with. So it's
yeah, I was going to say split the difference 55 if everyone else is comfortable with that, we could vote on that.
I think that works. I agree with that.
I'm good with that as well.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
I'm not.
We already knew that. Your answer was zero.
Okay. Any other discussion before we take a vote then? Okay, not seeing any hands. I'll ask for a motion to extend Vertex's not to exceed contract amount by $55,000. And that amount should not be exceeded without prior committee approval.
So moved.
I think I need a second.
I will second it.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Justin Janosik,
Yes.
Chris Baker,
Yes.
Justin Casanova Davis,
Yes.
Chief Kinney,
Yes.
Todd Lindmark,
Yes.
Kevin Champagne, yes. All right.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. You guys have done a great job, to be honest. I mean, I think, certainly the committee's done a lot of hard work, but a lot of that 1.3 million, I think,
Yeah.
you guys have done a really good job managing this, I think.
It's a team effort. Absolutely. Can't get there with just one group.
So I don't think I certainly would not have pictured returning over $1 million when we started this project. So I think that's great. So, and now it's just up to others how they use it. But, all right. So, our only other action item is approval of meeting minutes. Chris?
We actually don't have any minutes for approval tonight. They never got to me. They'll be there for next month.
Only other action item is to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Right.
Or third.
Justin Osik,
Yes.
Chris Baker,
Yes.
Todd Lindmark,
Yes.
Justin Casanova Davis,
Yes.
Chief Kinney,
Yes.
Kevin Champagne, yes.